Valentine's Day is coming up very soon, so I figured today I would talk about my all-time favorite romance books. So I have quite a few books on this list, so I'm gonna get started with the ones that I have physically first, and then I'm gonna do the ones that I read online, which are like a lot. If you've been subscribed to me for a while, these next books would not come as a surprise to you because they are To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. This is my all-time favorite series. I would say this is the series that got me into reading, but like not really. It's like the series that reminded me my enjoyment of reading. Like I've always been a reader my entire life, but like I've never really started reading until I read this series. Me and my sister used to share one book together, and we would annotate it, we would like write in it, well not write in it, but we would like highlight it, we would have like different highlighters, and we literally like shared that book, and it reminded us so much of how we were as sisters. Like we're very, very close. We like, you know, braid each other's hair. Like my sister would always braid my hair, and she would always do like a little flower crown. So in this book they actually did that, and it was just like, I was like, wow, I love this book. The book I have on this list is The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This glare is annoying me. This is a fake dating, hate to love book about a girl who she has a twin sister, and her twin sister like gets married, and she ends up not being able to go on the honeymoon because they end up getting sick, and like she's like really cheap and she's always paying for coupons, so she ends up like she can't, like the honeymoon is on a coupon, so she can't not go, so she ends up having her twin go because they look alike, and then the brothers have the same last name, so you know, because the groom's brother is like the one that she hates, like they hate each other, and it's just so good, and it was so cute, and they have like the shared bed romance, and it was just like one of the best like adult romances I've read, and it's just so cute, and I have tabbed so much, and I just love it. Like it's so good. The next book I have is Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which, yes, this is still an ARC. I still have not ordered the official copy. What am I doing with my life? This book is about a girl who has fibromyalgia, and she lives in this apartment, and she has this wife to get a list, and there's this guy named Reed who is like the landlord's best friend, and he kind of like helps a lot, and they like don't like each other. He like hates her because he thinks she's like a princess, and you know, she's very spoiled, and she hates him because she thinks he's trash basically, and it's just really, really cute, and I really like it, and it's one of my favorites, like one of my all-time favorites, especially because there's a black girl in this, and we have been getting a lot of like black girls in romance within the past year, which I really, really appreciate, being able to see myself in romance books. And I want to say romance is one of the most diverse genres because I read everything, and I want to say I read the most books with black girls in them in the romance genre. The next and the last like physical book I have on this list is Paper Princess, and this book is about this girl this book is recently added to my list. I literally read this book 2 days ago, so that just shows how good this is. This book's about this girl who is her parents end up dying. She has to go live with this family, and he has 4 sons, and they don't like her, and they're always like picking on her, and it's very problematic. So if you don't like problematic things, I would suggest this book is not for you. But if you love drama and you love tea, and it's just so fun, like it's a fun read. Like sometimes you read a lot of fantasies or a lot of like one specific genre, and you just want to get out of like that genre and just have fun and have a good time and just enjoy what you're reading, and it's something that you could devour within days. And I just really, really enjoyed this series. This book was a 5-star read to me. Like, I love this. Like, I cannot wait to continue on with the series. It's Credence by Penelope Douglas, which I first read this month. And just like Paper Princess, this book follows a girl whose dad dies, so she's gonna live with her step uncle, and she lives in Colorado, which I now want to move to. And it's so funny because they talk about how like they have to like work up until winter, and then they're trapped in like winter storms for like 6 months, and that just sounds like heaven to me. Like well, we just love it, and it's just so good. It had the same trope as Paper Princess, where it's like the girl living with like a bunch of guys, and I don't know why, but I just love that trope. It's just such a good trope, like and yeah, it was such a good book. Next book I have on this list is Boys of Brayshaw High, which is only Boys of Brayshaw High. I read the second book in the series. I gave it 4 stars. I read the third book and DNF'd it because I just didn't care for it. And this book is about a girl who is sent to live in a foster home in like a different town, and she ends up going to this high school called Brayshaw High, where she runs to these boys called the Brayshaw, well, Boys of Brayshaw, something like that. And they're like the most popular boys, and they kind of like run everything, and she doesn't want to put up with their mess, so it kind of starts this war between them, which I thought was really good. And I think that's why I really enjoyed that book specifically, because in the second book they already like formed their friendship and blah blah blah. But the first book is just so good. I give it 5 stars. I just loved it. Like, I had so much fun with it. The next book I have on this list is Corrupt, which is also by Penelope Douglas. And I kind of have mixed feelings with this book. This book is about this girl who witnesses these guys doing something on Devil's Night, and she rats them out and sends them to jail. So they get out of jail and they're like looking for her. And it was really good, but towards like 85, literally the 85% mark, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this book is so no. But like, literally, I was loving it up until then. Like, I was loving everything about it up until 85%. So I ended up giving this book 5 stars. But I ended up giving this book 2 stars because of the ending, and because it disappointed me. But like, I love it. Like, I love it, and I want to continue with the series. But Minka, my best friend, who I like buddy rated with, she thought it was boring. So I'm gonna like take a while to finish it. But it was a good book up until 85%. And I always say this, but the ending, like it was like a very Lifetime ending. Like, the villain was very a Lifetime movie villain, and I was just like, I'm not with that. So the next book I have is Fishes, and this book is about a girl whose parents work for this really rich guy, so she has to like live with him, and she ends up like doing something, and he ends up like hating her. So like, they end up growing up, and they live in New York, and her sister's really sick, and I keep saying Anne, but she finds him, they run into each other, and she ends up like working for him. And I really like this book. But I just think that, but one thing about LJ Shin is I noticed that her writing has like a formula, and her books follow the same way. And even throughout the series, and even her standalone books, they all follow the same formula, and they all have like the same way of ending, and it's very predictable at this point. Like, literally, when I was reading the Sinners of Saints series, I just already knew how it was gonna end. So it's like, there's no point in me reading this. And they're all like this guy who's like super bad, and like he falls in love with her, or sometimes they'll already have like a love story, you know, in the rest of the series. And then, you know, they have like the good banter, and then they get like a redemption arc. But sometimes the guys are like the redemption arcs aren't good enough for the guys, if that makes sense. Like, the guys are too mean for the redemption arc, and then they end up getting married, having a baby, or getting engaged in the end. And I hate endings like that in general, and all of her books end like that. And I just also, the fact that they called the 4 hot holes just really, I really love Vicious. It was a really good book. But I just, like, the more I read LJ Shin, the more it tainted my love for the book. But I still love it, if that makes sense. It's just like the way she writes. Like, I just will never read another book of hers, because I know how it's gonna end. Like, it's very like the formula's already there. Like, there's no point in me reading this book. So I'm just not gonna read any more of her books, which is sad to say, because I really want to read her All Saints High series, which follows the kids in the Sinners of Saints series, which I thought was really cool. But I even tried to read that, and like, I just thought it was corny, and I was just like, no, like, I don't want to read this. The next book I have on this list is Perfect Chemistry, and I read this book when I was literally like 13, and I read the whole book in one day. It was like the first book I ever read in one day. I literally sat in my room all day reading it. Like, it has such nostalgia to me, and I've never reread it since. So this book could be absolutely trash, but I will never know, because I hold this book holds a good place in my heart. Like, this was my favorite book before To All the Boys I Loved Before. Like, I loved Perfect Chemistry. I actually recently read the rest of the series, and I hated it because it was repetitive. And one thing I hate about anything, like movies, books, TV shows especially, is repetitiveness. And that's what this series had. It was literally the same thing taken out. But I separated the first book from the rest of the series, and I never should have finished the rest of the series. I really shouldn't have. But anyways, the first book was literally so good. It was about this guy, and I believe he's Mexican, and this girl, and she's like white, and they go to school, and he's like in this Mexican gang, and she's like this pretty white girl, and they end up getting put together for chemistry, and they hate each other because they're from two different worlds. And it was the best thing I ever. The 12-year-old me was thriving. I was like, that was the first ever hate to love I ever read. Like, that's when I knew hate to love was my favorite genre. Like, this book was everything and more. The next book I have on this list is The Duff, which I read when I was 14. I haven't reread it since. I really do want to reread it. I absolutely love the movie. I actually love the movie more than I love the book. And I actually read The Duff as a fan fiction. I read it as a Justin Bieber fan fiction. I was a Justin Bieber stan for 7 years, so I was always on JBFF, which, you know, Justin Bieber stans, you know. I was on JBFF Plus. I was, you know, JBFF Plus was that girl. JBFF Plus, you know. If you were a Justin Bieber stan, then you know. If you know, you know, okay? And I read it as a fan fiction, and I absolutely loved it. And then I heard the movie was coming out. So I was like, oh, this was a book. So I read the book and I loved it. And I watched the movie and I loved it even more than I loved the book. The book is problematic, but as long as it's not too problematic, your girl does not care, okay? So it was so good. It was it is problematic, but the movie is so different from the book, and it kind of takes out the problematic aspects. And there's so many things about this book that I love. Oh, I never talked about what the book is about. This book is about this girl who, it's like all the guys like want her two other best friends. Like, they always like talk to her to get to them. They're always like, oh, like, how's your best friends? And she always just feels like about it. And she's talking to this guy named Wesley one day, and he's like, you're the Duff. And she's like, what? And he's like, you know, you're the designated ugly fat friend. And she's like, what? And she like throws his drink. I feel like she throws her drink in his face or something like that. And then he ends up like teaching her how to like not be the Duff. And I just absolutely loved it. The movie was so good. The only thing about the movie that I hated was, like, in the book they had like this teeny club that they always went to, and like there was like the bartender guy that was there, and he was like one of my favorite characters in the book. So the fact that they took that out completely kind of irritated me. And then they added Madison's character, because like she wasn't really like a mean girl. She was kind of just like always there. And that's what I liked about The Duff, was like every other book always had that one mean girl who like wanted the popular guy, and he was like her girlfriend, like the girl who was always with, and like, you know, the main character would get with him, she would try to ruin her life. Whereas in the book, like, it wasn't really like that from what I remember, and that's why I like the book a lot. And this is one of my all-time favorite books and one of my all-time favorite movies, and I need to rewatch and reread very soon. The last book I have on this list is a book that I also read earlier this week, and it's called Cruel Prince. No, not The Cruel Prince, just Cruel Prince by Ashley Jade. And maybe I need to start reading books called Cruel Prince in different genres. Like, I got a book called Cruel Prince, and in sci-fi, I'll read it, because clearly books with the title Cruel Prince are the best things ever written. This book is about a girl who was best friends with this guy, and she moves away and she comes back, and he absolutely hates her. Like, he absolutely hates her, and he's literally trying to ruin her life and trying to get her out of school. And she's like, no, you're not gonna get me out of here. And I just really liked it because they put like a lot of pranks on each other, and they had like this good banter, and the ending was really good, and it made me sad, and it kind of made me cry. It's a little sad, like, so, you know, if you want to read like a more happier romance book, I would not suggest reading this, because it actually is pretty sad. Like, it has like this sad undertone to it. And the second book comes out tomorrow, I believe. I don't know when the second book comes out soon, so I can't wait to read it. Like, I feel like this will be like my all-time favorite like new adult book, because it's so good. And the plot for the second book, like, I like literally caught on to it when I was reading the first one, and I was like, I ship it. So now that it's gonna happen, it's just, yeah. So that's it for this video. I am going to be doing more romance videos themed in February, because I love Valentine's Day, even though I've literally never had a Valentine before. But I want to do more Valentine's Day themed videos, so I'm gonna be uploading like recommendations or anything like that. And if you'd like me to talk about romance more on my channel, I would love to, because I love romance, but I feel like I don't talk about it a lot on my channel. And like if you take one look at my bookshelf, you'll be like, well, at least the bookshelves that you see here, you'll be like, oh, like she loves fantasy and sci-fi and like all that stuff. But romance is like one of my all-time favorite books to read. Like they're so, I don't want to be like easy to read, but they're so quick to read. You don't really have to pay much attention to them as you do in fantasy. Like, you know, the made-up world and the made-up names and the magic system and all that stuff. Like you can just read a romance and just, you know, read it for what it is and finish it in like hours. And you could probably read like a bunch of romance in one day, honestly, if you have enough time. So yeah, that's it for this video. Please let me know what kind of romance videos you would like. I do plan on doing a Kindle Unlimited romance recommendation, so if you actually want to see that, let me know. But if you want to see like something else instead, let me know. If you want to see more recommendations in general, let me know, because I do read a lot, so I do have a lot that I could recommend for you guys. And I actually love recommendations. I love watching them, so I want to film more. And yeah, I'm also gonna leave some of my favorite romance channels down below if you like want to get more into romance, because I'm literally obsessed with these channels. So yeah, that's it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.